All right. Hello and welcome, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Sarah Alspaw, and I will be your webinar host. I am coming to you live from Cincinnati, Ohio, here in the US. As you know, Siemens is a very global company, so we'd love to know where you're joining from. So feel free to say hello in the attendee chat and let us know your location. Also, before we get started, we have a quick poll. We would love to know what brings you to this webinar today. You should see the poll up on your screen, so please take a moment to give us a quick response there. And again, say hello in the chat and let us know where you're joining from. All right, I see some responses coming in for the poll, so thank you. I'll leave that open for a few more seconds here. If you're just joining, you should see a poll up on your screen. You can let us know what brings you to our webinar today. Also, feel free to say hello in chat and let us know where you're joining from. All right, so thank you for those poll responses. I just have a few housekeeping items to get into, and then we'll turn things over to our presenters. At the bottom of your browser in the center of your screen, you will see icons in a widget dock, and these are the interactive tools that you can use throughout the webinar. You can minimize, maximize, and scale each widget to customize your viewing experience. I would like to call your attention to the Q&A widget. The Q&A Ask Questions window should be open, located on the right-hand side of your screen, I believe, probably right underneath the window that I'm in now. But you are encouraged to submit questions to the presenter throughout the webinar using this. It will look like your question disappears when you submit it, but we'll still see it just fine. And we'll save those for our Q&A at the end of the presentation. You should also see a little help icon down there in the widget dock. If you have any difficulties, you can click on that. But do know that a quick refresh of your browser here in On24 will solve most technical issues, so definitely be sure to give that a try. All right, looks like Fort Worth, welcome. Italy, Christchurch, welcome. Again, I'm coming to you live from Cincinnati, Ohio in the US. If you are just joining, feel free to say hello in chat and let us know where you're joining from. All right, a little bit about Siemens Digital Industries software. Siemens Digital Industries software helps organizations of all sizes digitally transform using software, hardware, and services from the Siemens Accelerator business platform. Siemens software and the comprehensive digital twin enable companies to optimize their design, engineering, and manufacturing processes to turn today's ideas into the sustainable products of the future. From chips to entire systems, from product to process across all industries, Siemens Digital Industries software accelerates transformation. And I would like to draw your attention to our Realize Live events we have going on. We just had our one here in the US just last week, but we do have Realize Live events still happening in Europe and China. So we hope that you can join us for one of those. You can head to realizelive.com to register or just to learn more. Right, and I would like to welcome and introduce our presenters today. With us from Siemens, we have Brian Johnson, and from IBM, we have Wogenrich. You'll be able to read their bios in the bios widget on the left-hand side. There's a little blue arrow there. Just click that to expand more, to read more at any time. I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to them. And again, you can just put your questions into the Q&A window at any time, and we'll save those for our Q&A at the end. All right, I will turn things over, and here we go. Welcome.
All right, thank you, Sarah, for that introduction, and welcome to the heavy equipment overview. So what I want to do is take you through this presentation where we're talking about how Siemens and IBM come together with Teamcenter and Maximal Application Suite to support the heavy equipment industry. And, if we take a look at a machine, that's out there, depending on where you are, what you're doing, the stage of life, I like to tie it to the view of a river. because depending on where it is and what that view looks like, there may be a lot of information. There might be a little bit of information. It could be a very simple view. But the important thing is that there is data flowing into this view and there's data flowing out. And what I see today will be different tomorrow. As we move through the product lifecycle, I may still look at that same machine and the stage of development or use and where it's at. And again, from a river view, it's going to be different. There'll be more information around it, more people working with that data, internally and externally. And again, information is moving from upstream through downstream. So we have to manage that. We have to track that, see how information is changing. Nothing is static throughout the life cycle of that machine. Eventually, we get near towards, the end of that river. And that information is as mature as it's ever going to be. And, this is the stage where products are usually retired. So, but we don't want to lose that information. How did it work? How was it maintained? We want to be able to leverage that into new products or future upgrades of those new products. And even, if there still are, existing machines from this product line, how can we use this data, to support that? So what if you could account for sustainability and service during design and engineering? What if you could reuse design and engineering data in work orders and preventative maintenance programs? What if you could leverage the technical details of a service requirement during execution? What if you could reduce risks, your downtime, and costs of your asset and maintenance resources? And what if you could ensure inventory has the right spare parts for the assets on hand? In the next part of this session, we will talk about the details of the SLM solution and how our products are interfaced and the value that it provides to our clients. Typically, we see that our customers have tons of information, but usually captured in silos. And there's very little movement from one side to the other. And, we see an IT footprint where there are gaps or misalignments in the digital thread. One of the bigger areas for disconnect is between your core business systems and their aftermarket and product support systems. One specific core system is PLM, managing all of that design, engineering, and manufacturing data. In these situations, information is thrown over the wall to service, but rarely does information ever come back. Usually this information is held closely within the service organization. Not only is information thrown over the wall, but it's also thrown without context or without updates. And as you can imagine, this leads to multiple problems. Key components of SLM is maintenance. Maintenance is always treated as an expense. This expense can be reduced if connected systems talk to each other. So it's essential to have common data nomenclature as design with asset lifecycle management for maintenance, single source of data for maintenance, feedback, to design from the execution world, and, having the right part, the right fix, and increase overall efficiency is our goal. So what is taking the mindshare in the aftermarket domain today? Generally, any discussion of aftermarket service typically leads to the topic of Industry 4.0 and how new technologies can help. There is significant interest in connecting machines that can leverage large amounts of sensor data fed through machine learning. Providing insights to improve products and enabling predictive maintenance. This is all great technology that is key to a comprehensive strategy, and obviously Siemens and IBM are heavily investing in this area too. But for complex products, there are additional considerations that must be made in order to fully realize the value these new capabilities can bring. For example, when a predictive maintenance algorithm triggers an event requiring intervention by a technician, are the required parts asset details, and documentation available to execute the task. Unfortunately, there are typically significant gaps in the available asset information. This can require unexpected investigation by technicians to properly locate the necessary details, potentially resulting in extended downtimes. So what is missing? In general, one of the primary issues we see customers facing is an inability to accurately maintain the configuration details of their assets in the field. This leads to excessive downtime to investigate and determine the correct configuration and part requirements prior to completing any service tasks. This can lead to multiple service calls and shutdowns to complete a task. For critical issues, this can cause an asset to remain down until required service can be completed. Inaccuracy in the asset configuration can also lead to mistakes in managing spare part inventory. This can manifest in several ways, whether it's ordering and stocking incorrect spares, missing the latest upgrade and not having it on hand, or missing a material requirement when defining customer contracts. All of these can lead to significant cost impacts. Another common challenge faced by field technicians is the lack of accurate and intuitive maintenance instructions. These documents are many times out of date and do not reflect the latest information. This can lead to extended downtime to resolve technician questions, or worse, cause serious quality or compliance issues if the wrong solution is applied. So it's obviously important to be able to predict when assets need to be serviced ahead of critical issues. However, we believe it's equally important to have solutions in place to accurately track asset configuration details and all the related data required to resolve any issues. This will allow you to improve first-time fix-it rates, reduce turnaround times, and improve the overall uptime of your asset. So now I'm going to bring you back to those three opening slides. Each of those slides, again, talking about a machine going through its product lifecycle. Well, each of those slides actually represent the same river. In this case, they all come from the Hudson River. So much like a river, that machine had its life starting in the early stages of program requirements. The what and how and why are we going to create this new product? Then it goes through various other stages of review, design, information, constantly being added, reused, modified, enhanced, through, from risk and reliability into defining your service and manufacturing plans, capturing the as-built out of the factory, and tracking what was delivered to your customers. Now, once it's delivered, all of that tech data, drawings, documentation, tech pubs, parts lists that are also provided, all support the sustainment processes for that machine. The what, when, and how will that be maintained? So capturing and tracking that information, analyzing that data helps with defining what those future upgrades and mods are for, not only for that specific machine, but for that product line as a whole and future product lines that will be developed out of new requirements that are being gathered. Eventually, that machine life and that product life will come to an end. But again, we've got a wealth of information that can be used, shared, analyzed to produce new insights into new products. So we want to keep that with us and track that. Now, as we discussed earlier, customers come in and based on IT footprint and solutions that they've put together, those stone walls still exist. So what we're trying to do with our customers is to move them forward and, like a river, start connecting those systems. So it's important to create mechanisms that control the flow of information and ensure critical data quality requirements have been met. It's also important that we enable a truly collaborative environment where all required stakeholders are included. This should occur at the appropriate stages with the necessary visibility across systems to identify issues early and to avoid costly late-stage rework. Another important concept to introduce on this graphic is how we view service lifecycle management in the context of traditional domains. We feel that there are critical touch points at all phases of the product lifecycle, that must be considered to support service. Connecting and enriching a common digital thread will provide you with enhanced visibility across functions, improve data quality, and minimize costly delays and rework. So with this solution, we want to close the loop between real-world product operations and product design to improve overall quality. The connected solutions are the system of record, the true digital twin for assets, fleets, and factories. With this, you gain true insight into failure modes, track service history for continuous product improvement, and innovative next-generation ideas, of your fielded assets. New revenue opportunities like product as a service are also achievable. Operation activities feed back into Teamcenter, where maintenance activities and history is tracked and shared with cross-functional stakeholders. Service feedback is used by design engineer teams for continuous asset improvement. Gaining a competitive advantage with higher quality and more innovative products, save money by reducing asset downtime with a strong plan for service even before your asset hits the field. Improving first-time fix-it rates with accurate knowledge of service requirements before on-site visits. Optimize spare parts inventory with visibility into service characteristics like location and usage. Streamline product issue definition, resolution and removal, etc., with best practice enterprise asset management. Aligning your operation teams with a full suite of asset lifecycle management capabilities built with best practice workflows and job plans. Equip your service professionals with intuitive service manuals and current asset configuration knowledge to expedite tasks. Leverage AI and IoT to assist service, diagnose issues, predict future maintenance needs. Operating history from years of information is leveraged to optimize work. So knowledge of ongoing asset service requirements and visibility to real-world physical asset configurations will help you keep your assets running longer. Continuous real-time sustainability data feeds will drive service and design life cycles, helping you to ensure your assets are operating optimally, deployed correctly, and efficiently maintained. Management of the decommissioning or reallocation of physical assets is also in scope. Metrics. Honestly, that's what we're all here about. How can this solution help us? What are the types of numbers that we can see, by working with a combined Teamcenter and Maximo Application Suite solution? So KPIs, we're going to focus on reducing that downtime, increasing the productivity of an asset. Most machines are there to produce something, and most companies view their machines as producing money, no matter what it is that they produce. If that machine is down, the revenue stream is cut off. So we want to be able to focus on KPIs that increase that productivity. How do we do that? By also reducing the amount of work that our technicians need to do. You've heard of us talking about first-time fix-it rates, getting out there with the right information, the right parts, the right tools, they get the job done the first time. So how do we reduce that excess work or that inefficient work processes? And then, when we receive a new, machine or deliver a new machine, how quickly can our customer get up and running with that asset? So we want to take advantage of these KPIs to help, drive our solution, but also drive the results with our customers.
The service plan holds all the necessary information for execution of service requirements. The Cortona 3D integration provides intuitive service work instructions for customers and technicians, with step-by-step procedures for service execution. As a work order planner using Maximo, you create a work card by selecting the right asset and fault code where the maintenance is due. This work card is then associated with the service requirement from Service Plan. As a scheduling activity, you can assign a technician that has the required skill set per the service requirement. The work card is then scheduled by selecting the start and finish timelines, and then handed over to the right technician. As the assigned technician, you log into Maximo and view the work orders. The detailed work instructions from Service Plan are now available to you. The attachment can hold a 3D PDF for recordings, guiding you with step-by-step execution of your assigned work card. You execute the work card in the field and update information related to failures, part replacements, and the work logs in Maximo. Once completed, Teamcenter can also receive information back from Maximo, such as failure details for any of the parts related to the work order. This enables the engineers to view this failure data in context of the design, but also have visibility to the configuration of the related physical asset.
As the video shows, and by leveraging our SLM solutions that extend to asset maintenance, integrated with the world's leader in enterprise asset management, the on-site technician can now have confidence that they will arrive with everything they need to resolve the issue. They will have the correct parts, knowing they are compatible and meet the latest requirements. They will see the configuration of the asset they expected, based on their access to up-to-date physical structure details of that specific asset. They will have specific instructions required to complete their tasks, as they are derived from accurate service plans linked to the latest configuration details. This will also allow the technician to resolve the issue the first time, reducing overall downtime. The improvements in customer experience cannot be underestimated and will provide a path to the desired customer retention by restoring assets to operation as quickly as possible. So with this, I complete the review of the Teamcenter side of the solution, and we'll now turn this over to Tom Wogenrich to talk about Maximo Application Suite.
All right, awesome. Hey, thanks a lot, Brian, for that. Thanks for the intro. I'm going to share my screen. And all right, very good. Yes, so thanks, Brian, again for that handoff here. And I'll get to my screen here and pull up my material. Again, a business value consultant with IBM and work closely with our Maximo Application Suite, our latest generation of Maximo, which I'll talk about briefly here today. Before I do that, one of our IBM Institute of Business Value done some research and talking with a number of companies about access to data. And one of the key findings was that you're talking nearly 2/3 of the companies that we polled here have multiple versions of data across multiple systems. And so as a result of that, and what you can see in these kind of feedback and responses that the IBV got was data all over the place. And it's the same version of data. In some cases, it may be the same data, but different versions. We found that as well. So what bottom line this is saying is that we have a number of different sources and different people are using maybe the same data on different system of records. Important to understand. So the question really becomes, can we consolidate the data into a place that we can then disperse that data to people who need to use it in the context of the assets? And I think that's really the key from the maintenance and reliability perspective is context of data in the context of the assets and the equipment that you're maintaining. So all the heavy equipment, all the tractors, all the trucks, all that you're supporting and maintaining, it's important to have the data represented in the context of the asset. So I think that's the story from this marketing survey here. We talked about the Maximo Application Suite. We have come out it's now about 3 years old. The Maximo Application Suite, our version 8.x, currently as of here January 2020. We have had this version available. Our version 7.6 is still in use today by many companies, but many are migrating to the 8.x platform or the Maximo Application Suite. And what you were aware of in the previous years of Maximo use is it really was an enterprise asset management system. And we're, it's a 30 plus years. We're actually pushing 40 years now, where Maximo has actually been a maintenance management in the old days, the computerized maintenance management system, and so pushing 40 years. So a lot of experience and leadership in this space. We are now incorporating reliability and reliability-centered maintenance capability now in the Max application suite. We can facilitate failure modes and effects analysis at the equipment or asset level. So that's helping our end users confirm their preventive maintenance schedule, frequencies are correct and what they should be. And when you have access to a number of the data sources out there, that really even further validates your actual maintenance cycle from a preventative or scheduled or on-the-fly type inspection you can do on your equipment. So that piece is really a foundational cornerstone, the enterprise asset management of Max Application Suite. But now with what we are calling our asset performance management capabilities and AI elements in the application suite, we're now expanding into the ability to have IoT, OT, and same expanding. We have had the ability for the last 3 years to incorporate operating data or operation technology or OT data, as well as your IoT data, which is your sensors, your one-off sensors that are in place to continue monitoring for reliability. That can be integrated into the Max application suite as well. And we do have industry, energy and utilities, infrastructure, oil and gas, manufacturing, transportation, facilities, aviation, et cetera, that really help you, that is specific to those industries for equipment and assets in those industries. We are also, from the standpoint of when we talk about architecture, we are in a containerized environment now. I'm using Red Hat. That is our hybrid cloud capability. We're able to exist on all the major cloud platforms. We can exist on premise. It's a nice capability enabled for your organizations to facilitate the hosting of Maximo in a cloud, your AWS, Azure, Google, even IBM cloud, or an on-premise environment. So the application, so it's actually can be movable because of the containerization capability. So that's kind of our view of the Maximo application suite. We do have, I am continuing to add our Watson X capability into the Max application suite. We do have built in already in the Assist tool. That actually gets to a lot to the point of what Brian was saying earlier about access to the current and latest and greatest work history, as well as the current documentation we have available and can be made available through the Max application suite. And we can get into that in more detail at some later time if needed. So that's kind of the overall view of the Maximo application suite. A lot of versatility, capability, but again, built and founded on enterprise asset management fundamentals. All right, play a quick video here of our service lifecycle for connecting assets and things I've been talking about here. So I'll put that in play now.
Let's say Alice is an operations analyst with your company, and she's using IBM Maximo to remotely monitor all of her company's assets in a single view. The AI alerts her that there's an issue that warrants immediate action. With a click, she can see she can drill down to investigate. The issue requires a physical inspection, so she creates a service request. And since everyone on Alice's team has access to IBM Maximo, which also integrates all data and workflows together, the second Alice completes and submits her request, Franklin, a maintenance supervisor, receives a work order. Franklin evaluates assets across multiple facilities from a central location. He reviews the work order and attaches the appropriate job plan from Maximo's rich industry-specific workflows. Then Sarah, a technician chosen for her expertise in this area, receives notification of the work order on her mobile device. Sarah pulls up the asset's history, job plan, and documentation, and she gets to work. The fix is one she hasn't done before, but Sarah has 2 options to assist her in completing the task. She can use prescriptive AI assistance that analyzes thousands of documents to provide the fix with the highest probability to succeed. Or she can contact an expert remotely for support. Here, she's using the camera on her tablet to show her colleague the asset in need of repair. She also uses the camera on her tablet to receive visualized step-by-step instructions delivered in real time. Once she makes the necessary repair, the actions taken are logged in your maintenance history. The new data then updates the asset history, and a recording is stored and available for the next person who has this issue, creating a continuous learning loop. ensuring you have better AI-driven insights into all facets of your operations, including the health of your assets, better predict failures, utilize AI-powered vision models, and optimize service scheduling, as well as worker safety, all on a single platform with multi-cloud deployment options. Host IBM Maximo in the environment of your choice.
Okay, go on the
Let's
next.
say Atlas is an operate.
What was that? So what that means, and what we've been talking about here is on the video there, is that we can obviously have the asset, I'll say foundationally, the asset information. And again, the tie pieces with Teamcenter, I think, is really very valuable to have the engineering, the asset, all the details about the asset can be integrated in with Maximo. So we have all the asset information at the as installed information on the asset record of Maximo. We would be tracking, obviously, service history, preventive maintenance inspection history. We would be getting data from the actual assets or equipment as well, which would then feed into our asset health insights tool. And that's all part of the application suite, giving you insight to, hey, that there are problems brewing with the asset itself. And that could be a number of different factors, what we call drivers and factors, that come from the operating data of the equipment and the vehicle, truck, tractor, whatever have you, can give you insights from the telematics, gives you insight into the health of the asset itself. That leads us into information about action to be taken. And then again, our AI-based assistants can help the field technicians. They may be out local to out in the field somewhere, out in a mine somewhere, can actually give insight to what the potential recommended resolution may be to the health problem. So they can tap into the maintenance history, they can tap into documentation, et cetera, and maybe even past experiences from other senior or knowledgeable personnel that we saw in the video there about the access to collaboration with them. And they can be anywhere on the planet to help you in that scenario. So that's, again, the connected maintenance capability with the Maximo application suite. So all these areas are available to you, and the integration with Teamcenter, I think, is very, very valuable from the asset foundation. And then the feedback to, right, the engineering side of the vehicles themselves. So very powerful connectivity with the Siemens teams. Got one more video to show you here in regards to the mobile execution. So want to give this overall view here.
Inspections. I will start my work order for today, and once my work order is changed to approved, I can see really the tasks that I have assigned for me to execute. So I will really complete task 10, task 20, and so on, up to the moment I get to the task 40, where I have a different touch point saying that I have an inspection result to record. So as I start really performing this inspection, this checklist, I will say, okay, any signs of leaks? Yes, I can select really all of them that apply, and conditional questions will pop up based on my responses. So if I respond to other here, I can say seal leaking. And as well as to continue recording these results. No corrosion, low vibration, temperature normal, noise level is high, and feedback will apply based on the responses that I'm providing. So engine is too low, engine is normal, anything else, signatures, and I will really complete these inspections, where a set of actions will be prompted me to perform if I want to create a follow-up recorder for things that were not really executed properly. Once I'm done, I can really follow the flow here, complete my task, and really complete my work order.
So you can see there in the mobile capability, we have a lot of capability to include the steps of the operation itself, the inspection details, what should they be seeing or expecting to see in the inspection process. Then again, provides feedback directly into the work order. And one of the challenges I think we've found over the years is to really leverage AI, you need that proper content feedback from people, the technicians that work in the field, the mechanics that work on your equipment. And we're also including up here very soon is the voice capability, even in loud, high ambient noise environments. We're incorporating the speech recognition that it will work for your personnel, whether they're in a open field, whether they're in a mine, a loud manufacturing space, to actually capture speech without heavy or nuisance of headgear. So that's also coming with the Maximo mobile capability here. So again, it's the ability to capture that content and complete work properly for the equipment service that is required to keep your equipment running reliably. With that, I'm gonna is that too much there? I'm going to pass it on back over to Brian for a wrap up here on our discussion here today.
All right. Thank you, Tom. As part of the Siemens Xcelerator portfolio of solutions, Teamcenter Service Lifecycle Management brings together key stakeholders in the service lifecycle and connects various data sources across design, manufacturing, and service. With its proven capabilities, you can capitalize on the reuse of product knowledge from engineering and manufacturing to improve service planning and execution. You can leverage the bill of material data to define the service bill of materials, create and manage service requirements, generate service documentation, and configure and manage physical structures for each product produced. With all of this information linked together to support configuration and change management processes, the service engineering data in Teamcenter becomes a single source of information used in downstream applications and processes. You can trust that information used by the technician is accurate, up-to-date, and asset or product specific, providing a single source of truth for all maintenance activities. You can perform service activities with a full understanding of physical asset and configurations, including physical BOM records, status and service history, and gain access to all appropriate information necessary to manage service operations more effectively. And we recognize that the thread shouldn't stop once the product and service instructions are out the door. We help you connect the dots from engineering to service and then back again to design. Think continuous product improvement and design for serviceability and sustainability. And that is a game changer. The Maximo application suite helps you effectively coordinate operational activities for greater compliance, faster service, and lower costs. Integrating this with Teamcenter allows you to close the loop and feed service information back to design. Where does it enhance value? What does it mean for our clients? IDC interviewed 23 large companies using IBM Maximo. And the result of these findings, you can see it brought improvements from ROI through cost and downtime reduction, orderly asset management and preventative work, proactive asset maintenance with recorded history, digitized single source of truth, and configurable approach to analytics and reporting, and integrated scheduling and tracking solution. So the need for an organized and scalable platform, and that's what we want to bring, to our customers. So I'd like to thank you for joining Tom and I as we review the end-to-end solution from Siemens and IBM. And I'll now turn this over to Sarah for the next steps in this presentation.
All right. Thank you so much, Brian, and thank you, Tom, for taking the time to present today. We do have time to do a little Q&A here, so I would like to invite our attendees to please keep typing your question into the Ask Questions widget here, and we'll get to as many as possible. If we don't get to your question, we will follow up with you offline. So again, just keep those questions coming in to the Ask Questions widget. All right, let's see here. Our first question: does the integration between Teamcenter and Maximo support the sharing of data real time? In other words, will the service technician have access to the latest product information when executing service?
Yeah, I'll take a stab at that first. We do have the integration built between Maximo and Teamcenter. So yes, the answer would be yes, and continuing that going forward. So yeah. Have you anything else to add there, Brian? Or
no, that's a nice, short, sweet answer.
Great, thank you. All right, our next question: could you give us a use case where the integration could be applied in a factory?
Oh,
yes.
Gosh. Go for it, Brian. Go for it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, there are several use cases, but I know we have customers that are, machine designers, and they provide the service for those machines on the factory floor. So they are able to leverage that rich PLM data, into their maintenance activities, and again, just as Tom indicated, they're pulling the real drawings, the latest parts list, the latest work instructions and tool requirements into those maintenance activities, as defined in Teamcenter, but as they're executing that in Maximo. So that's one scenario for the factory floor. Tom, I think you've got a few others if you want to add on to that.
Yeah, I mean, certainly manufacturing is certainly a sweet spot, Maximo application suite and team integration. As assets do move around a lot, right, in manufacturing space, and certainly industries move more than others, right? Automotive, aerospace, as they get new equipment and moving through, but versus other, classical manufacturing, pulp and paper, power generation. A lot of things don't move as much, but you do change out components. I think that kind of information integration with Teamcenter is very valuable as equipment moves around, right? And the individual components that are, I'll say, maintainable components, what we call rotating assets in the Maximo world, allows you to track that movement. So I think that's an important piece of the integration between Maximo and Teamcenter, because the engineering details available in Teamcenter are extremely valuable to the asset elements when you talk about work and maintenance of equipment. So I think that's a great to have, and there are many applications to be used and many ways to use that. And in fact, I'll say out loud, that our University of South Carolina lab, where Siemens and IBM, we both have our kind of working lab there, and we can actually show that right firsthand between the two technologies. Definitely open it up to anybody interested in seeing that location. So, yeah.
All right, great. Thank you. I think we have time to get to one more question here. Again, attendees, you can keep typing those questions into the Ask Questions widget, and we will follow up with you offline. All right. If I already have Teamcenter SLM, can I easily add on the Maximo integration?
I'll take that one. Yes. Part of why the partnership came together was, knowing that we do have a large number of customers that have Teamcenter, and they're looking for, enterprise asset management solutions. And so being able to point them to Maximo and to leverage the integration between the products to reuse the data that they have from us is a much easier concept for them than trying to, even if it was to buy Maximo separately and then go develop their own integration, and go through that kind of a process. It does make it easier for them to add it on, to an existing Teamcenter environment, leverage what's there, take advantage of what's there, and then take advantage of what Maximo brings to the picture as an integrated solution.
All right. Well, thank you both. That will wrap up our Q&A. I do see a few thank yous coming through, so passing those on behalf of our attendees. And I would also like to thank you, Brian, and of course, Tom, for your time and for joining us today. So thank you both so much.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And we'd also like to thank our attendees for joining us. You will receive a follow-up email with a link to view the recording of today's session. So you can, of course, watch that again, and please do share that with your colleagues as you see fit. If we did not get to your question, we will follow up with you offline. If you think of any additional questions after we close, you can email me directly at sarah.oswald@siemens.com, and I can forward you or point you in the right direction. Also, I want to let you know that this room will stay put, so you can come back in here to watch the on-demand after it's processed, and you can also come back in and put in questions or grab related resources at any time. Please do be sure to check out the related resources we have for you before you go, and we also have a quick survey if you don't mind taking a moment to fill that out. Quick reminder, you can join us for Realize Live. We still have Europe and China coming up. Head to realizelive.com to learn more and to register today. If you have a project immediately in mind, this QR code will take you to a list of phone numbers, so you can find the appropriate phone number for your location and get contacted to speak with someone directly away today. This is also in our related resources, and you can grab that link or come back in the room to get that at any time. All right, well, this concludes our webinar. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone, and we hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you for watching. To learn more about this topic, check out the links in the description. And if you enjoyed what you saw, like the video and subscribe to the channel.